what we're finally ready to rediscover. The rise of airship travel, hope and hype. Before jets, before commercial airlines, there was another dream. A dream where ships didn't sail oceans. They sailed the sky. In 1852, a steam-powered dirigible lifted off over Paris. Not a balloon, but a machine that moved. Then came the engineers, like Count Zeppelin, who transformed those fragile vessels into sky-traveling giants. These were lighter than air, silent, elegant, and for a short time, they ruled the skies. There was a time when flying didn't mean rushing. It meant rising. And in 1909, Germany did something unthinkable. They launched the world's first airline, but it didn't fly with wings. It floated. Passengers boarded these giants, not in fear, but in suits and gowns, bound for a new kind of sky. The Zeppelin Bodens of sky. The Zeppelin Bodensee could get you from Berlin to the southern border in under 9 hours. That same trip by train, double the time, half the wonder. By the 1930s, airships had crossed oceans. And then the world. The Graf Zeppelin circled the entire globe in just 21 days. Not as fast as a jet, but fast enough to feel like the future. And for a moment, we truly believed these floating titans were here to stay. These weren't aircraft. They were floating dreams, luxury liners in the sky. Germany's Hindenburg stretched over 800 feet long, gliding above the clouds like a skyscraper on its side. Inside, lavish meals, velvet lounges, a smoking room. Yes, on a hydrogen-filled airship. Guests wandered freely, watching the world shrink below them, as if they had mastered the sky. The confidence was so strong, they added a blimp docking mast to the top of the Empire State Building. At 1,250 feet in the air, passengers would have stepped off an airship and straight into Manhattan. Airships didn't just fly. They floated above weather, above turbulence, above the chaos of early aviation. They were national pride and proof that the sky could be tamed. The 1930s were filled with optimism, opulence, and a quiet belief that this was only the beginning. But what the world didn't know was that this golden age had already reached its peak. The fall, disasters, and the end of an era. The dream didn't just fade, it burned. In May of 1937, the sky above New Jersey lit up with a fireball. The Hindenburg, once a symbol of progress in passenger transport, collapsed in just 34 seconds. 36 lives were lost, but so was something bigger. Passenger blimps. The explosion wasn't just a tragedy, it was a turning point. Overnight, the world stopped believing in blimps. And what began as aviation's boldest promise became its darkest warning. But the Hindenburg wasn't the first warning. 3 years earlier, Britain's crown jewel, the R-101, crashed on its maiden voyage to India. 48 people gone. And then, the Navy's pride, the USS Akron, was torn from the sky in a storm. 73 dead. At the time, it was the deadliest air disaster the world had ever seen. Each crash had a different cause, but one truth echoed through them all. These giants were fragile. And when investigators looked closer, they saw the same thing. For all their scale and spectacle, we still didn't know how to keep them safe. But while blimps...
It's a terrific crash, ladies and gentlemen. The smoke and the flames now, and the frame is crashing to the ground, not quite to the mooring mast. All the humanity and all
them safe. But while blimps burned in the public's memory, something faster was rising through the skies. By the late 1930s, airplanes weren't just catching up, they were surpassing. Twin-prop aircraft cruised past 200 miles per hour, more than twice the speed of even the best airships. They flew farther, faster, through storms blimps could never face. And they did it with no lifting gas, no fragile skin, no ropes, no crew on the ground. In World War II, the U.S. Navy used them to patrol the seas, hunting submarines from the sky. They drifted above coastlines for hours, quiet, patient, persistent. And in peacetime, they turned into icons, not of war, but of spectacle. The Goodyear blimp, once a marvel of flight, became a floating billboard over stadiums, parades, and packed highways. Not fast, not sleek, but unforgettable. Blimps found a new home by doing what no other aircraft could: hover. For hours, like a cloud. They weren't chasing speed anymore. They were embracing stillness and airtime. Why? Because time didn't stop for the blimp. Helicopters are safer. Drones shoot cheaper. And those sweeping stadium shots? What once took a floating behemoth and a full ground crew now takes one operator and a DJI drone. And so, the blimps faded, not with a bang, but with a whisper. Today, only 20 to 25 remain on Earth, and even fewer still fly. They've become so rare, so unexpected, that when people do look up and see one, they're not thinking airship. They're thinking UFO. Left behind as floating billboards, collector's items, fragments of a dream. The era of passenger blimps was over. Or maybe it was just on pause. Future potential. A comeback for airships? The skies forgot about them, but some wish to revive airships from a century of failure. Today, as the world begins to ask new questions about sustainability, about how we move things and people, something strange is happening. People are looking back up. In an era of rising fuel costs, climate mandates, and a global push to decarbonize everything from burgers to Boeing 747's, one truth is hard to ignore. Airships don't burn fuel to stay aloft. They float. Imagine a vehicle that carries 60 tons of cargo to a mountaintop village, a floating oil rig, or the Arctic Circle, without needing a runway or burning thousands of gallons of jet fuel. This isn't sci-fi. Jet fuel. This isn't sci-fi. It's the working blueprint for modern airships being built right now. And it turns out they're not trying to replace jets anymore. They're carving out their own lane. We used to think speed was everything. But what if slow is the point? Cruise ships, overnight trains, scenic flights. People pay not just to arrive, but to experience the journey. Airships offer something planes can't. Time to look out the window and feel the sky move. Sustainability has no shortcut. Jets are fast, but they're dirty. Electric planes? Still years away from long haul. Airships? They're already 80 to 90% lower in emissions because they don't fight gravity. They dance with it. They go where nothing else can. No runway, no road, no rail line, just sky. 4 disaster zones, remote mining, rainforest logistics, or Arctic science. Airships don't need landing strips. They can hover. They can float in place. They can land on water. It's not about beating airplanes. It's about reaching where they can't. In 2022, a regional airline in Spain quietly ordered 10 new hybrid airships. Then in 2023, they doubled it. Not for cargo, for passengers. Even airlines are betting. The Airlander 10, developed in the UK, promises up to 100 seats, ultra-low emissions, and flights between nearby cities, without touching a single piece of asphalt. The old weaknesses are becoming strengths. A century ago, weather was the enemy. Today, satellites can predict turbulence to the mile. Yesterday's flammable gas, replaced with inert helium. Yesterday's silk fabric, now carbon fiber. Yesterday's disaster, today's design lesson. Modern materials, better data, autonomous controls. Everything that doomed airships before might just be what saves them now. So, why don't we use blimps for travel anymore? Because we found faster ways, safer ways. But now, we're asking a different question. Not just how fast we can get there, but what it costs to move at that speed. In that silence, the blimp speaks again. Not to race, but to float. And maybe its next flight isn't about reclaiming the past. It's about helping us imagine a slower, quieter, cleaner future. One gentle drift at a time.